Hi there. We want to introduce you to Sage's litter of pups. These pups were born on Tuesday the 20th, and today is Monday the 26th. So they're just about a week old, and it is crazy. Sorry, we've got a string on this collar. Crazy how much they have grown, and we want to just show them to you. You can hear the sounds Purple's making as she's looking for her mama. At this age, they sound more like a cat or something than a dog as they're looking around. So their eyes and their ears are still shut. Those have not opened yet, and they're dependent upon their sense of smell. So she's sniffing around trying to figure out where mama went. Anyway, so we just want to introduce you to these pups. The litter overall has some very dark coloring to them. Mom, Sage, is a very dark Vizsla. Dad, River, isn't quite as dark as Sage, but he's still, considered one on the darker end of things. Vizslas can range anywhere from strawberry blonde to a deep, deep rust color, but they should always have, some of that reddish hue to their coat. Their coats will change color as they mature. When they're born with their brand new puppy fur, it's a little bit more brownish, and then it gets more red as they mature. But a puppy who has a really dark coat at birth is going to translate into also having a darker coat at maturity. So most of these pups are going to be pretty dark as far as their coats go. Sage had 6 girls and 2 boys, so mostly girls in this litter, and we'll just go through them one at a time and kind of introduce you to them. I'll start with Yellow here, since she's right here in my lap, snoozing away. We're just going to give you just some close-up shots of each puppy. If we roll her over, we can take a look at markings. Now, some Vizslas are solid, meaning they have no white markings on them anywhere. Others are marked with some white markings in various places on their body. Breed standard allows for white markings on the chest or the toes of a Vizsla. Now, this is coming from the breeds that were used to create the Vizsla breed. Any breed of dog that man has bred for specific traits or skills or whatever like that, after a while it becomes standardized and you start to become consistent, and then that becomes classed as a new breed. And so that's what the Vizsla is, but they accomplish that by mixing other breeds of dogs that have the traits they're after. And so the breeds that were used in the original creation of the Vizsla had white markings, and that's why sometimes you'll see white markings coming out on Vizslas. And it can come, you can breed 2 solid parents and still end up with puppies with markings, because it's just, back there in their generations, hidden in their genetics, and you can just expect to see some markings on Vizsla pups. So let's just introduce you to each pup and let you see what their markings happen to be. All right, so if we roll Yellow over here, let's take a look. She is solid on the chest. She is solid on her front paws. She doesn't want to be held still. And she has a little bit of marking right around these toenails. Very, very faint. More of a highlight than a solid marking, but I do think she's going to have a little bit of a few white hairs around those toenails on her back left paw. All right, and if we tip her chin up, we can check in here. The chin area is another area that you will sometimes see markings coming through on a Vizsla. It's not considered breed standard if it is in the chin area, but again, it is something that even if you breed 2 solid dogs or 2 dogs who are in conformation with where their markings are, that will just show up on occasion because it's just back there hidden in their genetics from the breeds that were used to create the Vizsla. So we're going to take a look. There's nothing in her throat, so her only markings that we're seeing are just right there, right around the toenails. So pretty close to a solid dog. We'll watch those as she grows, whether they become more visible or whether they go away. Sometimes faint markings can go either direction. So we'll watch her to see how she matures. But just cute as can be. That's for sure. Yes. Okay, let's move to another girl. Hopefully I can keep track of who I've done. Let's pick our teal puppy right here. She's kind of on top. Again, very dark coat. and their coats are very soft and thick and very healthy looking, which coat condition is an indicator of health. So that's really good to see. Again, just cute as can be. Let me show you on her just a little bit. You can see her, she's awake, but her eyes are sealed shut, as are her ears. If we look in here, there's no opening into her ear canal yet. When they're born, they can't see or hear. They're dependent mostly upon their sense of smell. They can smell where mama is within the room, as well as they can smell the milk and know whether they're headed for her tummy or her back in order to find food. They're dependent entirely on their sense of smell to make sure they get themselves fed, and it's amazing how well they can do. But as they get between 2 and 3 weeks old, usually closer to the two weeks mark, their eyes will open, and about the same time their ear canal will also open so that they will be able to hear. Right now, their ears are really thick and almost waxy and really small. As they mature, those ears will thin out and get longer, and more pendulous, hanging more down to the jaw area like you would expect, a more adult proportion to the ear. And that will happen with each of these pups. Let's show you Teal's markings. So if we roll her over, we can see put your head out so we're not in the shadow. You can see she's definitely got that chest marking. This is within breed standard. That is a perfectly fine marking. If we look up here in her throat, she has just a few hairs. Nothing bold or dramatic, but there are definitely a couple of hairs. We very rarely see that in our pups, but this litter does have a few of them that are showing up right there in the chin. Like I said, that's just coming from those hidden genetics of the breeds that were used to create the pups. So for that reason, we're going to make sure that she only goes with limited registration. Some people, if they want to breed or if they want to compete in conformation, which is the prettiest dog contest, we do offer full registration to buyers for those purposes. But if on the extremely rare occasion, which it is really rare that it happens for us, that we have an out of breed standard marking, then we do restrict those puppies to just limited registration. There's nothing wrong with her health, it's not going to affect temperament, anything like that, strictly cosmetic, but in interest of keeping that appearance of the breed, that's something that we like to do, is make sure that only pups who meet that breed standard are going to be used for future breeding. So for that reason, she'll be a limited registration pup. Let's finish looking. So we saw the chest and just a couple of hairs right here in the collar area on her throat. Solid front paws. And just a few tiny little hairs right around the toenail again. We'll watch and see whether those stay or whether those fade. One fun thing that the Teal puppy does have is Daddy River has a little dimple in his nose. He's fathered a lot of puppies and very rarely does it come through, but on occasion we see a puppy who inherits that. And Teal is one of the few pups who have gotten her daddy's dimple. You can see that right there in the end of her nose, I bet. I can see it in life. I hope you can see it on the camera. So we think that's just a really fun, cute little trait that on rare occasion we do see coming through, and she's one of those pups that got that from her daddy. All right. Pink apparently wants to be next. She has climbed up in my lap. So let's show you our Pink girl. It is crazy how much bigger these puppies already are in less than a week. They're already so much bigger than they were when they were born. She's just got a little string on her collar, hair off there. All right. So here is our Pink puppy. She was the biggest puppy at birth. And we'll see if she continues to hold that title or not. Typically, the males are larger than the females, and so her brothers very likely could pass her up as they get older. We'll just watch that and see, but she was the biggest one at birth. And let's show you her markings. If we roll her over, lift up her chin. She's solid in the throat, nothing there on her. She's solid in the chest. Lift up your chin so we can see your feet. Maybe. She wants Mama to feed her. All right. So solid front paws for this sweet little girl. And she has a definite marking on these 3 toes of her back left paw. So that would be her marking, just a little marking there. As far as is it better to have a marked pup or a solid pup, that is entirely a matter of opinion and your preference. If you're going to do the conformation, which again is the prettiest dog show, marked dogs are allowed in that contest, so long as their markings are restrained to the chest and paw area like we talked about. But they do sometimes show a preference for solid dogs in the conformation. So if that's something you're interested in, you would probably be wiser to lean towards a solid dog. But other than that, it's really just a matter of preference. We quite often find that our marked dogs are the first ones picked because a lot of buyers like that it gives some individuality to a breed that tends to look a lot alike. I mean, we can tell our Vizslas apart, but people who aren't well acquainted with them think every Vizsla looks the same. And so, a lot of people like the markings for that reason. If you prefer the solid, that's just a matter of preference. So there is our pink girl. Again, the biggest. Her coat at birth was a tiny bit lighter than her litter mates. I'm not seeing that difference as much now, but right at birth it was a little bit lighter. So she might end up, a shade lighter than the rest of them, but still definitely leaning towards the darker end of the color scheme there. All right, let's see here. We can get to our green puppy. She's right on top. So let's show her to you. Here is our green girl. She doesn't want to look at the camera. There she is. Just so cute. And let's roll her back and take a look. All right, so if we lift up, she has 4 or 5 hairs, little tiny again, but there is just a hint of the marking right there in the throat. And then she has a white marking right here in the center on her calic. So this marking is okay with breed standard. This one is technically outside of breed standard. It's very, very small. We'll watch and see if it fades, but most likely she would again be restricted to a limited registration just because of that marking. Nothing serious, just cosmetic, just as far as breed standard. All right, front paws, solid. Oh, yawn. And back paws, solid. So she's not a heavily marked dog. She's one that at first appearance would appear to be solid. You would have to look to notice her markings. So she has that solid feel to her, but then on close inspection, you would see these little markings. That can be a fun individuality thing. And as far as that goes, we have seen, not in our own dogs, but we have seen other Vizslas online and stuff like that before, that their chest marking comes clear up and it's one solid marking clear up here into the neck. We're not seeing that in these pups, but again, just those few hairs coming from, those breeds that were used to create this breed. So there is our green girl. Let's see here. We've done pink. I don't think have we done purple? I don't think we've done purple. It's kind of hard to keep track. They wiggle around. I try and sort them in piles. No, they don't cooperate with that. All right, here is our purple girl. Just cute as can be. And let's show you her markings. If we roll her over, lift up, there's nothing in her throat. There is a couple of markings right here on the chest. There's kind of one almost down in the armpit, and then one right here more centered by her calic. Those are okay with breed standard. She's pulling her feet back so we can't see them. She's solid on the front paws. And we may end up with a few hairs right around the toenails. It's not obvious enough to know for sure. We'll have to watch that, whether or not there's any marking on that back left paw. Let me show you a couple more things on her that maybe you've been noticing as we've gone through the puppies. This right here is a scab from when their dew claws were removed. Dew claws are basically a thumb on a puppy. Some breeds have them on all 4 paws. The Vizslas only have dew claws on the front feet. So those are removed between 3 and 5 days of age because being an active hunting breed, running through brush and stuff like that, they can actually snag that toe and rip it completely off, which is a much more traumatic injury than to just clean remove it when they're young. And it's done between 3 and 5 days old before 3 and 5 days old before their nervous system is fully developed. As you can tell, they can't see, they can't hear. You know, that nervous system is still developing. They don't have a lot of sensation when they're really young, a lot of nerve sensation, and so it's not a horribly painful experience for them. They actually get the most upset just being separated from mama for a bit. As soon as you put them back, they seem just fine. The other thing that is also done between 3 and 5 days old is their tails are shortened. So their tails used to be out to about here. You take off 1/3 and leave 2/3 of a Vizsla's tail. Their tails are a lot longer and thinner than, say, a lab tail. And so for that reason, again, being a really active breed, running through trees and brush and whatever like that, by the time their tail gets out to the end and is so thin, it can actually be prone to getting broken. And so that's why it's shortened, to help make it safer for them. Again, it's done really young age when they don't have sensation to feel so much. There are some stitches in the end of their tails. Those don't have to be removed. Just as that scab heals up and falls off, the stitches come with it. One other thing you may be noticing on them is that they have little scabs right here on their tummy. Nothing was surgically done there. That's just a puppy has an umbilical cord, just like a human baby, in the womb to feed them. So when they're born, that dries up and falls off, just like our belly buttons. So their belly buttons are just in the process still of healing. They don't necessarily like have any outy belly buttons like we do. It just heals into smooth skin. But that is what that little scab is on their tummies that you may be noticing. All right, I don't think we've done Peach yet either. So let's grab her. Here is our Peach gal. I don't think there's much cuter than a little tiny Vizsla puppy. Yeah, it's gotta rank up there in the cutest things in the world for sure. All right, let's roll her over. Chin up. She has very, very faint, you almost can't even see it. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. Very faint marking right there. Very, very faint. But for that reason, she'll probably be restricted to limited unless that goes away. If we look at her chest, sorry, lay her down to make her hold still. Come here, sweetheart. I'm gonna lift your chin up a little. Solid on the chest. Solid on the front paws. And solid on the back paws. So her only marking is that very, very faint one right there in the throat. We'll watch that as she grows and see, whether it gets bigger, smaller, more obvious, less obvious, that kind of stuff. And we will keep you posted on how that progresses with her. So, so sweet. All right. Well, let me see. I think we got green and pink. We got yellow. We got purple. We got peach. We got teal. I think we got all the girls. So let's move on to our 2 boys. Start with orange right here because the other boy is being used as the pillow by all of his sisters. We won't disturb the pile quite yet. Here is our orange, little Mr. Orange. Doing great, growing wonderful, and let's show him to you. All right, if we roll him over and lift up, he does have white right there in the throat. His is the most obvious of any of them, right there in the throat. And then, he's got it here on the chest as well. So because of that throat, we're going to restrict him to limited. Front paws are solid. As far as back paws, we have white on the toes of both back feet. So those are his markings. Such a cute little guy. All right, we're going to disturb the doggy pile. When we started breeding dogs, our kids understood where the term doggy pile comes from. Come here, Brown. We got to pull you out from the bottom. Oh, sorry, girls. Still in your pillow. Here is our brown boy. He's going to wiggle because we just woke him up. let's roll him over and take a look. Move his ribbon so that we can see. Solid in the throat. A little line marking right here on his chest, just a little line. That's within breed standard. Solid on the front. Solid on the back. So his marking is just that little line right there on his chest, right by his cowlick. So anyway, those are our 8 pups. Well, I shouldn't take credit. Sage and River's 8 pups. Sage certainly did the hard part of this. She was such a trooper for a long delivery, and she's been such an attentive and excellent mother to these pups. She's raising them really, really well. Mom and Dad are beautiful dogs, great personalities, wonderful parts of our family. They both are quite large as far as Vizslas go, so I would expect these pups to mature into some pretty good sized dogs, and they should be beautiful and healthy with good personalities, just like their mom and dad. As far as our breeding philosophy, we kind of see it as there's 3 legs to stand on that every dog has to have in order for us to want to breed them. The 2 most important are health and temperament. Temperament being their personality. Do they love people? Are they gentle? Are they kind? That kind of stuff. Obviously, we want healthy dogs. And then the 3rd leg is the appearance, which is we do want to breed to maintain the appearance, the breed standard of the Vizsla breed. And so Mom and Dad are both standing on all 3 of those legs very solidly. They're beautiful dogs, but they're also healthy dogs and dogs with great personalities. If you focus too much on just appearance, you can end up with absolutely gorgeous dogs that are grumpy and sick. And obviously that's not a good way to have a dog be. So we try really, really hard to make sure that our parents of the puppies are standing very firmly on all 3 of those legs. And Mom and Dad just sure are. They're wonderful dogs, and we expect these pups to just grow up to be wonderful dogs as well, and great additions to your families. So we're super, super excited for you.